The earliest memories I have of being really enchanted about art was in kindergarten. I remember that there was a festival in my kindergarten and our teachers brought a puppet show. Like it was the Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf. And I remember that I wanted to see how the puppets were moving, and I kept peeking and like behind the puppet theater.
I have been doing art since I was a child. My parents, of course, wanted me to try all sorts of different things. They wanted me to play piano and other things, but art was something I just was always going back to over and over again. So I went through a lot of different stages of just different art. I actually have not been painting abstract for that long. I was more interested in surreal and fantasy realism.
Ever since I was a little kid, I loved the visual arts, art history, and biology and medicine, and I always saw this beautiful confluence. I never really separated them. They were inseparable, actually. It's like the brain is an integrated matrix. I would frame my work around art science productions, and my work is about the art science of innovation.
I kind of started getting a little bit more practical about, what am I doing, but also because I am doing interior design. So it was kind of, I think the designer in me started kind of taking over because of the way the design process works, how you take a space and you start carving in the shapes out of it, how you position elements within the space, where you put walls, where do you put circulation. It's just that kind of a process of organizing the interior. I think it kind of maybe brought me to the process of this collage, how you assemble these loose pieces into something holistic and something that looks complete.
I come from a small town in Mexico, so we didn't have art classes in our town, but they enrolled me into the next city available with art classes, which we had to drive 45 minutes just to get to the art classes. My parents were really supportive from the beginning. For me, that was sort of like that level of intensity and passion, like that I showed that I could just do all my chores at home, so I could just like get that as a reward.
Well, they're all about the integration of how we intuit things, how we construct our ideas, how we have inspirations that draw from just curiosity, wonder, about how phenomena work, certain phenomena. And the paintings are really meant, you're looking at a snapshot of something in motion. They're multi-dimensional. Think of them as 11-dimensional, many, many, many dimensions to them, and they're in a state of transition. And so they're meant to be almost like looking at a composite of a film, and if you were to see them in motion, they would be shifting and changing and nothing static. So they're the opposite of a two-dimensional, even though they're prints or drawings or paintings and things, but they're created with layers of paint, layers of drawing, layers of information that are actually embedded in the painting.
I think for me, the color is very important. I'm a rather emotional person. I kind of feel very deeply the sadness, the joy, the excitement, and I think that's why my works are always kind of bursting with colors and loud, and so I kind of hope that it will get people energized and excited about what they see.
I have 5 pieces available in this show. They are like the most realistic pieces that you will see. In the series I call Mujeres, Women, which is about portraying more like Latin American women and their diversity, with like showing different emotions that had to do with what I consider the key ingredients for community well-being, and also sort of portraying the hard work that women, especially the indigenous women in our communities, do to keep alive traditions and culture, which is something that I am deeply grateful as an immigrant, and I learned to not only embrace but appreciate a lot better being in a whole different country and culture. It just became like everything from food to like the folk arts to the music, everything, right? To like clothing. So it is my way to give a little homage to them. So
Buckminster Fuller said it best: start with the universe. Any subcategorization of it is arbitrary. And all these systems are working together in a connected way. And so I always saw that and didn't understand why we would separate things in such rigid ways and then create, barriers between different fields of study and so forth.
Once it's done, I usually try to look at that and see what is it bringing out for me. And hopefully people will be able to do the same thing, because I think we all have our own memories, our own associations with places, things, people, and maybe, this piece, for instance, that I was talking about, nucleic cataclysm and the nuclear energy, maybe somebody will see something completely different in that, and that's okay.
I think they always begin with questions. I have questions about the way the universe works, or the way nature works, or how do you see the world differently than I might experience it, or similarly? How would I know that? And so there are fundamental questions about fundamental processes happening in us, and particularly I'm interested in that deep connection with humans and nature, and that human nature, that full integration that's always present, but we don't really understand it.
Art is very subjective, and to put frames on it and say this is only this and only means that, I think it's rather limiting. So I hope people can enjoy them for themselves and make their own judgments about what they are.